Rogue. We see the Mage from Raven, so my Yogg-Saron hopes are still alive. But we also see Warrior, which is probably going to be this Cthulhu kind of control Warrior, which I'm really excited to see.
It looks like it's going to be a form of Freeze Mage here. It's going to be going back towards that Novice Engineer Forgotten Torch, but it's without the Mad Scientist.
Yeah, which is what I did ask earlier. How will this Freeze Mage survive the nerf of Naxxramas?
This is Face Shaman with that ridiculously good card.
Yeah,
and
a beautiful curve as well.
Yeah, because he can Finley turn 1, or a Sergeant if he wants, Totem Golem turn 2, overload, and then just play that 4-mana 7/7, the Flame Wreath Faceless.
He's playing this specifically, I guess, because he doesn't know what type of mage this is yet, and he wants to deal with maybe a 2-drop that could be a threat, or he maybe deal with a mana worm that gets buffed up or whatever. So,
but typically
also you can't play it turn 2 because you want to coin out your 4 mana. So you have to not overload on turn 2.
Exactly.
So that's why he's overloaded turn 1.
He can't use.
Oh well, no,
he was going to play it turn 4 anyway.
Oh, this is a nice decision because you go for because there was always a lot of debate between whether you would go for life tap or go for
steady shot.
Steady shot, but now you've seen the Novice Engineer, you're probably expecting it to be Freeze Mage.
Yeah, so
you just go for the steady shot, yeah.
I mean, typically Freeze Mage can do very well against aggro, but that's the Freeze Mage that we're used to seeing with the Mad Scientist, so I don't know how it's going to play out. I wonder what cards have been added instead of Mad Scientist. I personally haven't seen any Freeze Mage. I know I've seen a list that Sottle made, but I'm not entirely sure what is added instead.
And he's going to play a bit like a Face Hunter here. You use the Abusive Sergeant just to get damage on face, and then play the Hero Power to curve out.
Certainly will.
So I wonder if it's any of the new Mage cards that have been added to replace Mad Scientist.
Maybe.
Maybe. But I mean, it's not that big a loss, is it, Mad Scientist to Freeze Mage?
I wouldn't have minded maybe just adding Ethereal Conjurer or Jeweled Scarab. Yeah. I reckon Jeweled Scarab could be a pretty good replacement for Mad Scientist, just because you could draw more secrets, you draw more freezes.
And here is the most OP card to be added in Whispers of the Old Gods, the Flame Wreath Faceless. He has a 7/7 on board on turn 4.
Luckily, there is a Frost Nova
and
followed by a Doomsayer.
But there is an Earth Shock to respond.
Correct.
The only issue with playing the 4-mana 7/7 is you can't Doomhammer on curve, which is...
I think that's okay.
That's a concession.
Considering you have a 7/7 on board, I think that's just about fine.
Yeah, I think you're right. Next turn he can do 10 damage, by the way, with Doomhammer and Rockbiter Weapon.
The Flame Wreath Faceless adds so much to this deck that I don't even think Doomhammer is necessary. Yes, of course, it's a great card. It's a broken card as well. I'm surprised it didn't get nerfed. But this deck, I've seen this deck win without even using Doomhammer. It's that strong, like those 7/7s.
Yeah, I still think Doomhammer is a pretty ridiculous card.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah. With this, he can end next turn, if I'm not mistaken. If he plays the Trog now, and then next turn plays Doomhammer, Rockbiter Weapon, hits for 7, hits for 1 with Murky.
But Blizzard will.
Blizzard will. I mean, it really depends what.
The Blizzard should stop that.
Yeah,
I mean, against Face Shaman, you're always going to be counting lethal, especially on turn 5, turn 6, when you know the Doomhammer can come down, especially if a Doomhammer Rockbiter can come down. So I think you'd be concerned about that, and you're probably going to drop a Blizzard here. You can follow up with an Ice Block next turn.
Or you could just Fireball 7/7.
That works too. So plenty of answers available for Raven. Maybe got a little bit ahead of myself on that one.
No, but I mean, you as Excoundrel said to us last week, you've always got to count lethal.
Always count lethal. Lethal? Always count lethal, friends. Okay, so you just start to...
Tomatrog into Feral Spirit, perhaps, or do you just get the Doomhammer out nice and early?
Get the Doomhammer out, start applying damage.
Yep.
And then you can Rockbiter pretty soon. I mean, if he doesn't Ice Block...
A Frostbolt would be nice here.
If he doesn't Ice Block next turn or Ice Lance face, then he loses.
I'd be very surprised if he doesn't Ice Block here. Like... Or Blizzard...
No, he
doesn't keep you alive. Yeah, you've still got steady shot. You've got to assume that he has Rockbiter Weapon.
You have to when Doomhammer comes down.
Assume worst case scenario.
Yeah, so Ice Block realistically has to happen. And then you maybe Roaring Torch the Tunnel Trog.
But if you're using like Roaring Torch to kill the Tunnel Trog, then what's your win condition? You've got Alexstrasza, but you've got no burn at all. At the moment, you're just stalling to try and stay alive. He is going to search to see if he can find someone else. The Forgotten Torch is good, but he's got he has to ice block.
But he's still in a really bad situation.
He is. He needs a Frostbolt to kind of just freeze that face. He's going to use the Ice Lance. He's just going to say, okay, I'm going to...
This is the most sensible decision that Raven could have made in this, given this situation. Has he still got the ability to proc the...
So...
Lava Burst is 5, gives
10,
5. Yeah. And he can get it down to 1 as well. Lava Burst is only 2 overload, yeah, so that gives the 5 damage to the Tunnel Trog, 5 damage to face, gets him to 1, use Steady Shot, and that is procced.
And there we go. Raven has seen it. Not Raven, sorry. Mysterious has seen it.
I'm still wondering what's gone in instead of Mad Scientist. I do feel like Mad Scientist...
I was looking at this list the other day as well. And I can't for the life of me remember what has been added. I remember thinking, oh, it looks pretty similar, so it's probably just a swap for swap.
Yeah. Do you just Forgotten Torch? Yeah, you Forgotten Torch and then you play Novice Engineer maybe?
I probably would have played Novice Engineer at the start of the turn, just to see what you get.
Yeah.
You're going to play it anyway.
True.
Ice Lance comes out. So, I mean, at least you have an answer for the Doomhammer next turn.
He can Alexstrasza himself back up as well.
That's true.
But not as well as Answer the Doomhammer, of course. But I mean, even if you're Alexstrasza, that 15 health doesn't feel secure against Phase Shaman.
I wish the animation for Ice Block was like the actual in-game Ice Block. Like your character turned into a block of ice. That would be cool. Blizz, blizz. There we go, Feral Spirit. I mean, like, we're talking about how he can stay in the game, what he can do next to just grasp onto life, but realistically,
how's he going to win?
When you're in this situation and you're just using absolutely everything just to barely stay in the game.
Yeah, the issue is that he's forced to use Alexstrasza on himself, and at this point in time, that's all of his mana curve.
Well, you could... I mean, he's going to go for it. You could have done Blizzard Ice Lance on face.
But he is dead with the Rockbiter in hand, of course.
You couldn't, because you died to Steady Shot.
Oh, of course, yeah. Rip.
And that Steady Shot from Sir Finley, who is still alive.
Well done, Sir Finley. You've had a great adventure, my friend.
He did have a great adventure in that. It really helped, actually, the Steady Shot in that game. If he had got something else, if he hadn't had that choice, then it might have been a little bit different, but I still think that game was a bit one-sided. I feel the Freeze Mage did struggle there.
I feel that Freeze Mage struggles without Mad Scientist, really.
Yeah. Because, I mean, he had to play both of those secrets for 3 mana, where in another case he may have had that Mad Scientist early on, and that would have saved some mana to use for removal.
I think the fact that we didn't see any Frost Armor, we didn't see that 8 armor stack come out at any point is a massive issue. Because, I mean, that's 16... Ice Barrier, sorry, yeah. That's 16 HP that you just don't get in the game, and that's a huge amount of health, and maybe could have held him back in the game right there.
Yeah, but I mean, the Freeze Mage, it's definitely still a viable thing. People are still running it. I've seen it in ladder. Again, I'm not quite sure I can remember what has replaced Mad Scientist, but in a more control matchup, it's definitely going to have more chance. I think against Phase Shaman. Phase Shaman is just broken. Like, just ban it. Just don't play against Phase Shaman.
I wouldn't be surprised to see the Cthulhu spell damage replacement. It's a bit like another two Blood Mage Thalnos.
Yeah, I could see that. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, I know which card you mean.
The one that every time you cast a spell.
3/2, 1 spell damage, and gives a buffs your Cthulhu every time you cast a spell. But
or even I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe some Sorcerer's Apprentices in there potentially.
So this is an interesting deck from Mysterious. Lord Jaraxxus. And we saw a card Spreading Madness as well. I'm not 100% sure what
Spreading Madness deals 9 damage randomly to any minion or character. I think to any character. So potentially it could deal 9 damage to your own face. I mean, so I've seen people run Grim Patron in this deck.
Isn't it?
I've seen people run Grim Patron with that card. Because think about it, it's an activator.
And this one thing as well, people always kind of just think as think of Grim Patron as a warrior card. It's not. It's actually a neutral card. It's just warrior works really well.
And I would love to see more decks kind of use that. And like, I mean, people always thought Mage may be able to use it because of their hero power.
Ping,
but it never really kind of had another activator.
And that's a 7 mana combo as well, to get 2 of them on the board.
So this looks like maybe a form of Reno lock? Or a hand lock. It's like a Reno lock or a hand lock of some sort.
I mean, I think the Earthen Ring Farseer says to me Reno lock. That's not usually one you see
I need to stop us here. Reno lock.
Reno.
Even you're saying it now.
I know. I just say it. I just say whichever one other people near me are saying.
So I think the main difference for this Freeze Mage is that because it's running Roaring Torch and Fireball, is that a thing? Didn't you usually take Fireballs out if you're running Roaring Torches? So if it's running 2 Fireballs and 2 Torches, is that the replacement?
I'd have to look at the list, but I don't think so. I thought you still ran Fireballs. Cone of Cold's in there. You wouldn't you wouldn't classically run Cone of Cold.
Yeah, Cone of Cold is definitely so. Yeah, so Cone of Cold will probably be one of the replacements.
I love how
we saw Pyroblast earlier as well.
Yeah, Pyroblast has always been included in that deck. I love how we're spending most of this game working out what has replaced Mad Scientist.
Well, it's an important factor,
it
right?
Is,
I mean, it's good to know what's been added. I'm trying to work out what this deck is.
I think it's a Reno Warlock. Just an advanced, you know.
So but Spreading Madness seems like a strange card to add, especially if you're not trying to activate anything.
So the decision here is Cone of Cold or Frostbolt into Doomsayer, I think, but he's going to go for the Cone of Cold.
And then coin Ice Lance it.
Ice Lance is
Just
going to be
rid
available.
of that Bran. Bran is a devastating minion to be on board. You never really know what he's going to double up. Pit Fighter.
This is a Reno. This is definitely a Reno Warlock. There's no way you'd include Pit Fighter in a regular deck.
No. But I love Pit Fighter. It's a great body. It's a 5/6, amazing in Arena.
It's a good card. It's basically the equivalent of Chillwind Yeti, but for 5 mana.
But 1 mana up, yeah.
It's just a good body with good stats for 5 mana.
And this is what I love about this new expansion. It's bringing in cards from other expansions that weren't necessarily seeing play, but now because we've lost cards from the older expansions, these kind of cards are having to be used.
You think you don't have a lower Theb anymore, which would be an auto-include. Now you're searching for... Actually, I think a lot of 5-drops you're searching for something to replace
well,
with.
you had Sludge Belches and
gone.
lower Theb.
Yeah, lower Theb gone. I think Pit Fighter is a perfectly viable card to include.
He's just going to go for Black Knight on curve here, obviously knowing there are no taunt minions in Freeze Mage. Emperor Thorician off the top.
It's not a bad turn 6 play.
That is a pretty fantastic turn 6
And considering that you've got, it's kind of bugged there, but you've got so much good stuff in your hand right there. You've got the Doomsayers that you can then play for 3. You've got Frost Novas, you've got Blizzard. Get a lot of value. Even if it dies next turn, you still get a lot of value out of that Emperor.
Well, yeah, you want as much burst damage as possible. But even if you've got like a relatively full hand, it still feels good. But Raven's going to say, actually, no, I'd rather wait until I've got more of those Fireballs or Ice Lances. 0 mana Ice Lances are often very, very important. As we see the Siphon Soul coming off the top, meaning Mysterious can deal with this Doomsayer.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right, to just go for the Siphon. What else are you likely going to be siphoning? You can siphon the Alexstrasza, but...
Yeah, also, you just simply don't want to lose that board.
Well, there we go. There's another Fireball. This Emperor might be dropping now.
Or another Frost Nova Doomsayer.
But he wants to... Raven wants to get rid of this board. You can see that.
I think if he goes for that again, we're probably going to see a power overwhelming Shadow Flame. Because what else are you going to power overwhelming Shadow Flame? I wouldn't even be averse to seeing healing up your Pit Fighter with the Earthen Ring and then power overwhelming Shadow Flaming that. How do you feel about that? Or would you just go for the simple power overwhelming?
YOLO Spreading Madness.
Yeah, that's
just
going to work.
Hit Doomsayer 7 times. I mean,
that seems like... Oh, there's the Reno, so we were right.
So, yep, he's just going to power overwhelming, use his Shadow Flame.
I think he wants to keep that Earthen Ring for the heal, right? Because you've lost Antique Heal Bot, so... But having that Reno is especially good against this type of Freeze Mage deck where you don't have the generation of any more fireballs with the Antonidas.
And it does seem like a risky kind of deck choice from Raven. I mean, we did say he's good with Murloc Paladin. Freeze Mage is kind of similar to Murloc Paladin, being it's a lot of stall and then burst damage.
Do you Faceless Manipulate
Yeah,
as
totally.
Emperor here?
Totally. 100%.
What else are you going to use it on, right?
Just tap Faceless Manipulator, take his out, and then just have your own.
Yep. And you always say, Joe,
Faceless Manipulator is the best card in the game.
Oh, okay, he's just going to use Defender.
But now you could say that Shift Azirus is the best card in the game because it could be any card in the game.
But you can't control.
It's less of a kick in the teeth, though. You know, with Faceless Manipulator, it's not just a great card for you. You don't just get to steal their minion, but you also get to kick them in the teeth while you do it.
So a lot of burn. Well, a little bit of burn being thrown out here. But you've lost a lot of your freeze now, and his own Emperor Therissian off the top too. So
wow. So we can have a 7-mana Jaraxxus. And, I mean, it's already important enough, the fact that you can play Jaraxxus for 8 mana, because it means you can drop one of your 6/6 Infernals for free. Well, not for free, but as you play him on that turn, on turn 10.
Do you play Jaraxxus against the Freeze Mage, though? You use it, you really realistically have to use it as some form of heal.
Oh, it would only, it would only come down as a heal later on if somehow he gets past your Reno. But Raven's having to use a lot of his burn right now to get rid of the second Emperor.
I know what we've seen instead of the Mad Scientist. He's got Loot Hoarders in there. You wouldn't have those classically because you run the Novice Engineers.
Okay, yeah, so it's just got more card draw.
It's got all of the basic card draw.
And the Cone of Cold is slightly different. We don't see that in many Freeze Mages.
You could just Reno and then you throw a Brewmaster it back to your hand for the 5 for the 5 damage heal.
That seems excessive, but I love it.
Do it. Just do it.
So we see Cho'Gall, one of the other new legendaries for Warlock.
I actually really like this card.
So the Battle Cry, the next spell you cast this turn costs health instead of mana. I mean, any card that you can use your health instead of mana is always great in a lot of classes.
The big example that Reddit were really raving about was the Cho'Gall followed by Siphon Soul. So it's a 7 mana removal, basically. And you get a 7/7 body on board.
Yep.
It's a difficult turn to know what to do here. I guess you can then throw down the Sen'jin because you obviously don't. You want to reduce. Oh, okay.
You just throw down a 7/7 body because you're just putting the question out there. How can you actually deal with this? You can freeze it, yeah, but you're not going to be able to kill this. I've seen both Doomslayers.
Spreading Madness. No, he's not going to do it.
I just want to know why Spreading Madness is in the deck.
I think it's one of those where it's like, okay, I'm way behind on board. Let's see what happens. Fingers crossed this will clear his board, not just hit me in the face for 9.
I mean, maybe he's running a Patron. If he's running a single Patron, I mean, it's worth including because it can create such a board. If you think 9 damage spread randomly, and if just your Patron is on board, the likelihood of it being hit and then hitting another one is yeah. I would love it if Patron is in this deck. And then I'm going to go home and play it myself.
Same.
This is the most fresh and the most enjoyable I've ever found Hearthstone. I think it's the most successful expansion that Hearthstone has released.
I think it's the most.
So
I would agree.
Good job, Blizzard.
When are you stopping tapping, by the way, knowing that you've got Reno in hand? And when are you worried about being burst down?
Well, I think with the hand in the situation it's currently in,
I mean, what's your typical worry is like, what, 15, 16 health? The Alexstrasza range?
I mean, realistically, well, no, but we've seen, especially with Therissian having been used, we have seen these decks very easily do 22 to 23 damage in a turn.
I think, like, with the situation you're in, you're very comfortable. Your cards currently cost a lot less because of the Emperors that you managed to get out earlier. You don't need to tap every turn, and
that's the BGH.
You can kind of just tap if and when.
I really like your Reno into Youthful Brewmaster here.
I don't think it's that bad. I think
you tap here.
Tap Reno Youthful Brewmaster is absolutely A-okay.
He's not a fan, though. Not a fan at all.
Well, he's just wanting to get more value out of it.
Yeah, I mean, he can still do that combo later on as well.
There's literally no board freeze, no board clear, nothing to deal with the board now. So this is
this is the perfect opportunity. You can just Reno, return it back to hand, and then the concede button should probably be.
This is one of the first times though we've seen from the freeze mage's perspective, where it's not just holding on to ice blocks. Like it feels like every time we see freeze mage, it seems to be on the losing end, like not getting the spells, not getting the burn, having to use the burn to just clear board. This is the first time we're actually seeing it where you actually have some damage in your hand. You can maybe look towards a win. However, obviously we know there's a Reno Jackson, there's a Jiraxis, Youthful Brewmaster.
We've actually had a few occasions. Last week we saw where
there's been I think I'm not saying we haven't seen Freeze Mage win ever.
Oh,
but
yeah,
what I mean is like it seems like it's usually on the losing side more often than it is on the winning side.
Yeah, the only times we've seen Freeze Mage win has been in the situation where we see them turn the trigger and start burning ASAP.
Yeah.
Question is he going to Youthful Brewmaster this?
I mean, he's seen all of the board freeze, but why would you not, essentially?
I think just Brewmastering that kind of wins you the game.
It does.
He can't burst you for 30.
This deck's incredible.
Yeah, you can see Raven's like, no. What? I love this deck. Well done, Mysterious.
I just want to see Grim Patron, and then it will really top my evening.
I hope he looks for lethal with Spreading Madness.
I mean, I'm just trying to work out why you would include it. It's just it seems too risky if you're not trying to get any sort of board advantage out of it.
So basically, the only out for Raven here is just I have to go face with everything because I can't start removing minions because I have one win condition, which is kill people with my spells. Ragnaros the Light Lord. No, Ragnaros the not Light Lord,
Fire
just
Lord.
the Fire Lord.
Die insect rather than live insect.
Yeah. So this poses an interesting question. Do you just Reno here?
Yep.
Because I guess, you know, why not, essentially?
You heal up to 30, you know you're not going to die. You can pop his ice block.
Because with a Blood Mage Thalnos, double Ice Lance, double Frostbolt, Roaring Torch, something like that, you are looking towards the realms of 20 damage.
He's already used one Ice Lance, I think.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Blood Mage Thalnos plus 4 plus 4 plus 5 is 13, plus Roaring Torch is 20. That's 20 damage with Blood Mage Thalnos, and you just ping for 21. I think that's enough mana, potentially. Blood Mage Thalnos is 2, 4, 6, 8.
Why was he hovering over Spreading
No, he's
Madness?
not.
It's like he
I
just
don't
wants
like
to troll
this
him.
board anymore.
I think this is again, and this is actually the second time that we've seen really good Reno use from Mysterious. There was the time earlier in the, there was a time earlier in our couple of weeks when he was playing against Green Sheep, and he used Reno at a perfect time when we were saying you need to use Reno here, otherwise he'll die, because he would have died to that Blood Mage Thalnos combo that Green Sheep had in hand. And again, he's not afraid to use that Reno even for small health values.
And I think on that occasion as well, we saw Green Sheep use his combo and leave him on like 4 HP or whatever it was, and it was like, yeah, fair play. But here we go. Combo is going to come out here.
Oh, I thought it was a time where Green Sheep had 23 damage from hand, and he was on 23 he's on 23 health. And if he didn't use Reno, he would have lost.
Yeah, but then he used the combo to like show that he had that
show
damage.
That he had, yeah. No, I agree.
And I think now this is just going to be a matter of Raven praying.
But what I'm trying
actually
to think what
draws.
else he can draw into. He's used his Pyroblast already.
I'm trying to
I think he's got one more Roaring Torch.
He can't Alexstrasza next turn, so you were hoping that you draw into Roaring Torch, which is
Roaring
6.
Torch is 6, and then he needs to Arcane Intellect into another.
Another Roaring Torch and another.
He's used both Frostbolts, he's used both Ice Lances.
Yeah,
He's used one Roaring Torch as well.
There's nothing he's got.
Maybe
right?
he's got a Disciple of Cthulhu that will deal 2 damage as a battle cry. That's a very strong maybe.
Maybe, friend. I just want to see.
I mean, I like Jiraxis here actually.
Yeah, because he heals in for
just
1.
It gets that 1 extra heal,
Well,
just in case you are worried of anything.
He's got 2 cards left in his deck. So after the Arcane Intellect, we'll know exactly what he's got left.
So Raven should know. what he's got left.
That's a pretty fun interaction, by the way. I don't know if anyone knew that. If you were frozen and you used your axes, because you technically become something else, you become freezes you.
So it means his last 2 cards were probably, what, Thalnos and a Roaring Torch, possibly?
I think a Roaring Torch, yeah. So there you have it. That is going to be the game going the way of Mysterious. So very strong play from him in that match. And again, the Freeze Mage not really managing to take out the win, but at the same time, Freeze Mage doesn't typically have that much success against specifically Reno.
No, yeah, it's definitely two matchups that he's struggled against. The Face Shaman can just spiral out of control, and the Reno lock has just got too much heal, especially when it's got a youthful Brewmaster as well.
I'm really interested to see how Mage performs in this meta, because I really, really think that Mad Scientist, having been gone, is a really big hit to them, because they rely so heavily on secrets as part of the core swing turns or part of the core mechanic, especially of Freeze Mage, to survive. You know, you really need the ability to get secrets on board for cheap, effective costs. 2 mana for a secret on board is really cheap and effective, although you can't choose which secret comes out. In both Tempo and Freeze, you're not too bothered about which one in most situations would come out. I'm just interested to see how Mage is going to evolve from this situation, because I think you have to go into a situation where you are less reliant on secrets. I know that Freeze Mage can work. That deck can work. But we haven't been seeing the success of it. I'm
curious to see whether we see, we're going into the next game, so it is going to be Druid up against, looks like Raven is picking his Warrior for this one, so we'll see what kind of Warrior this is. One thing, just quickly on the mages, I think we might see a variant of a Frost Mage later on in the meta once people have experimented more, because we've got Shatter now. We've got the minion that randomly freezes an opponent. I think it's called like Faceless Frostbringer or something along those lines. So there are other options, and that minion I think is a very, very strong minion in combination with Shatter, but also in combination with Ice.
And actually, I saw Raven streaming a deck that was running that card, and he was like, this is a really strong card, so I'm surprised he hasn't made a deck around that, but I guess today's not really the time for experimentation.
He said on Twitter, I will make a deck that this is good with. You know, I will make that happen. But we're going to see 2 Cthulhu decks going toe-to-toe with each other here. And actually, Raven's hand looking pretty tasty against the Druid, has also picked up the Black Knight. And as you know, a lot of the good Druid cards do feature that taunt mechanic. So
I think the Black Knight is a very good tech in, especially for this matchup. Having the Execute makes Warrior Cthulhu slightly better, in my opinion, than Druid Cthulhu. But Druid definitely ramps up a lot quicker thanks to the Wild Growths, the Innovates, etc.
Yeah, the only weapon that we will see, except for maybe Gorhal, being run in most of these decks. And actually now, there's not much that you want to play Twilight Elder, but that will just go down. You have no other choice though, right? And you should go face with the little sapling.
Good old little sapling, just dealing 1 damage. But I think that's fine. You forced him to use both his minion and his weapon to remove it. Although now he could use Cruel Taskmaster if he wants to maintain his board here.
It's not.
I love Cruel Taskmaster. Cruel Taskmaster as a tempo play.
I like Cruel Taskmaster.
It's a fantastic card.
I like that it's coming back as well.
Yeah, because it kind of fell out of the meta, didn't it? But it started to come back right at the end before Whispers of Old Gods was released. So I'm glad to see a couple of players still running it. Innovate into, I can't pronounce this card, Dark Arakoa, I'm going to go for.
Arakoa. They are like Munch said, they are the coolest
spooky
characters.
Homes. Yeah, they have cool voices as well, but that's...
The Execute will come down. I mean, importantly, that Execute could have been safe for a Cthulhu, but I mean, right now, you're saying, right, look, my board's better than yours. I've got some deadly minions waiting as well once I get to that higher mana stage.
This is pretty good for Mysterious. He's just seen an Execute. That Black Knight can't be played just yet.
Nothing can be played.
But the curve coming out from Raven after this turn is pretty good, and there is a pretty solid card.
Yeah, the hell's coming off the top.
I think that's pretty much the perfect draw there, to be quite honest, to be able to actually do something with this turn and not just...
The reason why Cthulhu Warrior is so good is because of those Ancient Shield Bearers. That combined with Bronzebeard, if you're running Bran in your deck, you can add 20 armor on turn 10. In a control matchup, that is huge.
I mean, they're amazing.
I mean, the fact they can just add 10 armor straight up is amazing.
It's also like the I really like the priest card.
The heals 10.
The acolyte, the Twilight Acolyte, I think it's called. It heals 10, and then with Bran Bronzebeard, it heals 20. It's pretty good.
This one's ever so slightly better because it's just not capped. Like armor stacks indefinitely, whereas health only goes up to 30. But you're absolutely right. Do you play Black Knight here?
So obviously,
it
there's
feels
two
like
options.
a waste to use it into the 2 health taunt.
I think Sylvanas is fine because it forces him to clear his entire board if he doesn't want to have anything stolen.
Yep, I think.
I have no time for
Yeah, I mean, he's probably just going to trade into it, and then he's going to go drop his own Sylvanas.
Are you looking for more value out of your Black Knight rather than a 4/2 taunt, right?
I think so, yeah.
Potentially Ancient of
Ancient
War,
of War is what
another Dark Arakura.
Or one of the twins.
Yeah, one of the twins also. And speaking of the twins, look at Raven's hand. It
Yeah.
looks so good.
Is his Cthulhu at 10 health?
His his
10
Cthulhu's definitely
attack.
at 10.
Was it? I think
Actually,
it's
it might be at 9, actually.
I think it's a 9, yeah.
Which would basically make both of those cards irrelevant, would it not?
Because they weren't glowing orange last time. It has to be at least 10 attack.
Wait, he's only used... Oh, yeah, he's only used one...
He's on 9.
He's used one Beckonet of Evil, and he's had a singular tick of the Twilight Elder, so it's at 9. You're right.
But, yeah, actually, this hand doesn't look so great anymore. Do you then play one of the Ancient Shield Bearers just
on
to
curve,
have
I think,
a body?
depending on what he draws, you may have to play something on curve. Mysterious just going to go face here, and probably drop his own Sylvanas.
No, he's going to use Hero Power. I guess... I don't know how I feel about that play.
Well, there we go. There's a Twilight Elder to boost your Cthulhu up to 10, but... I mean, there's some damage on the board now. You're suddenly worried about your life total, but if he can just get his Cthulhu up to 10, the next turn he can just add a lot of armor.
I think playing Twilight Elder's great, because now you do start to get value. You've got 20 heal, basically, in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over 2
Which
turns.
is just crazy.
Pretty good, yeah.
And this is the reason, I'll come back to it again, we said that we thought aggro was going to die because of this expansion. These are the cards that can kill aggro. I don't think aggro will ever die because, especially on ladder, because people just want to play quick games, they want to try and rank up as quick as they can. And some aggro decks do really take some skill.
He's going to use Hero Power here. Does he play his own Sylvanas at this point, or start to play that for... I mean, why not play on curve, play your own Sylvanas? Or you could, okay, for the 4/10.
I think the thing is with Sylvanas as well, you don't want to play that, allow it to be like
just kill straight
there's
away.
plenty of combos within a warrior deck to just kill something.
I think you want to save that Sylvanas. You want it on board when you're worried about Cthulhu dropping.
When there's something worth stealing.
Because if Cthulhu drops and does all that damage and kills Sylvanas, then you've got a chance of stealing that Cthulhu. It's one of your best counters.
Another Amber... Oh,
Amber
sorry,
Weaver.
Klaxi Amber Weaver. You could just hit into the 6/6, swipe face and play, or... No, you can't swipe, you've got to swipe it, sorry. Yeah,
Now, I know we're having a hard time with some of the names, but I had a friend who casted the Chinese regionals the other day, which was just a day after release, and all the cards were in Chinese. So we should consider ourselves lucky.
At
least we can read them, yeah.
We're not in a bad situation, really. Actually, you know what I think would be really cool with the inclusion of the Klaxi Amber Weavers? Just having a Defender of Argus. Imagine how powerful that would be in that deck if you had a Defender of Argus and Klaxi Amber Weavers on board. It's like having a miniature Jiraxxus from the sort of Zoolock deck.
It's just what do you cut from the deck? That's
You
the hard
face
thing.
Klaxi Amber Weaver. I don't know what I do, but I'm not going to bring doom to your world.
I weave Amber.
So, Twin
I weave
Emperor.
amber.
Twin
I
Emperor
love
here
trees.
with
Sap.
Armorsmith.
Okay, I'm going to stop.
Twin Emperor with Armorsmith here, I think, is a strong play.
Yeah, I think Twin Emperor Armorsmith's fine, but also...
I mean, Shieldbearer's fine. He may not even be running Bran Bronzebeard in his deck. You'd only be running it really for... Well, even the Twin Emperor value from Bran Bronzebeard is sick.
I did stream a game, or record a game of... I was playing a handlock version of the Cthulhu deck, and I did use Bran Bronzebeard, Twin Emperor, and I did get 3 4/6s on board. It was pretty good. I was quite happy with the situation.
So now going into turn 10, he's playing his Sylvanas. I think the fact he saved it is saying, right, okay, if you are going to play your Cthulhu, it's going to kill my Sylvanas, and I'm going to steal it. And I
Yeah.
love that play.
That's a pretty solid play.
But we know there's no Cthulhu in the hand of Raven.
And there's no taunts for Black Knight to find value yet. But I imagine a shield block into Twin Emperor is pretty solid. It deals with those 4/4s on board.
You could Bloodhoof Brave and use Cruel Taskmaster just to proc it either. That's always an option, because then whatever hits it has to...
I feel like you want to save
down.
this Cruel Taskmaster for your Gromash, which I think we know still exists in this deck.
I've seen a lot of decks not run Grom.
I think we saw it on the Mulligan, though, didn't we?
We may have done.
So you've got 2 forms of card draw here, and actually one of the card draws is really useful because you can trade Sylvanas into a 4/6.
Yep. Do you Wild Growth first just to see what you get, or do you Wrath first to see what you get?
I mean, if you're going to use Wrath for 1 regardless, does it matter which way you do it around?
I guess you could find something else to deal with the minions that would change your decision of Wrath.
Potentially. Cthulhu.
I mean, having that in your hand is pretty nice for next turn, because
Yeah.
you can now
What
clear
damage
this
is that?
board. It's 12, I believe, is what I saw.
Still feels pretty weak at 12, but like we said, it doesn't matter that much at the end of the day.
If anyone's watching and they aren't a massive Hearthstone player and they don't know what's been added with the latest expansion, Cthulhu is Battle Cry. He deals all of his damage just like spread around the board.
I love this. I didn't even see this play. He's going to draw from Sylvanas, steal the 4/6 for free. Do these warriors run Brawl, by the way?
They don't. I don't think so. I mean, we say do they like this is some specific meta deck, but like so people are running different stuff.
Is that because they're playing more like a mid-range warrior because they have minions to play on curve in the earlier turns?
I don't think they expect to be behind. As we now see Bran, but Bran's not going to be as effective right now.
At least Black Knight gets some value now.
Black Knight does get value.
Black Knight and Bloodhoof is...
But he's got no answer for Cthulhu next turn. He needs his second execute.
Does Cruel Taskmaster with Bran Bronzebeard give 2 damage for attack?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
So I think you Cthulhu here.
I think Cthulhu's fine.
I think maybe you run your Savage Combatant first into the Tauren, just because if the Tauren doesn't die, it will feel bad having to take 5 damage to any of your minions. But he's saying it's not going to win me the game yet.
Do I want to draw some more Dark Arakoa?
Exactly.
Do I want to start buffing up?
Do I want to save this Cthulhu to a point where when I play it, I win the game?
Am I worried about an execute also is a real reason, but he's going to go for it.
And it's beautiful. I love how quick I was really worried about this animation that it would take forever. Unfortunately, Black Knight does survive, but I mean, you feel okay just trading one of your...
Considering the board he has, he's not too worried. It's not really the end of the world.
Yeah, I mean, there was a risk there because, you know, you said you... Yeah, I mean, there was a slight risk there in the sense that if that did stay available, you would end up losing. But is that...
that's a Doom Caller.
That's a Doom Caller.
So this is the card we were talking about earlier. If your Cthulhu is already dead, or Cthulhu, sorry, then you play this card and it's shuffled back into your deck. Also, obviously, it adds 2/2 to Cthulhu.
There we go. We're going to see it get some form of value by clearing this, but that's a 12/12 on board right now. And you
16
can
damage.
bet your bottom dollar that's probably going to go face.
And also, there's a good chance that whatever's drawn buffs it, and it does. That's another 2 damage on top
16,
of it. So it's 14, 18, plus 2.
19.
He's got
20 damage, I think. He's 1 off lethal, so he could... As a Drake for Limerence, possibly?
Oh, wait, no, he's not 1 away, because he's got hero power.
He's got hero power. Yeah, I was thinking, he's got hero power.
He's got lethal.
Yeah, you've got lethal, dude.
You don't need to as a Drake. He can do it that as well, anyway.
Yeah, you don't need to, but you can.
Has he?
Yep. Because he plays
sure?
the Disciple.
I think he's only got 20.
No, he plays Disciple, it buffs it for 2/2, so that's 14. That's 18 on board, plus the 2 damage onto face from the Disciple, plus his hero power is 21.
Yeah, he had lethal.
So it was the buff for 2/2. I thought it only buffed for 1/1. So he has just missed lethal. I'm not sure it's going to... Well, I mean, if an execute comes off the top, it might be... Has
it triggered in his mind yet? It doesn't look like it's triggered in his mind yet, because Sottle realised after he played that Fiery War Axe, he chooses death anyway.
He got lethal, it's fine.
Yeah. I can see the cheeky smile from him. He looks like he's thinking either I've just qualified, or that was his qualifying win, right?
Yeah,
That's 3-0.
His smile